Did you know that about 2 million Illinois residents have criminal records that could block jobs, housing, and other barriers in society, even though that they're eligible for relief? Well, the wait is over. The state of Illinois just passed their Clean Slate Act on October 30th. So what is the Clean Slate Act? Why is this important? What is this for? That is what we're going to talk about in today's video. For those of you that don't know, my name is Corrin Swintosky. I'm a freelance criminal paralegal and owner of Lucid Legal Support. I even got my Chicago Bulls sweatshirt on, and I know Chicago does not represent the entirety of Illinois, but it's the best I had, y'all, okay? I'm super excited about this because I've been spending a lot of time in Chicago, so this was a really big win after the Clean Slate law passed in my home state, Minnesota, a couple years ago. So what is the Clean Slate Act? As it essentially gives automatic record relief to criminal records that were already eligible under state law. So for example, in Illinois, there are already certain records that were eligible for a formal expungement process. This would require the individual with the criminal record to petition the court to get their expungement, but that is a very laborious, very tedious process. It can be very expensive if you hire an attorney. So this essentially eliminates the need for people to navigate this complex legal system, and it falls back on the government themselves to seal the records from public view. And the whole goal of the Clean Slate Act is to create pathways and opportunities for people that have a criminal record, give them a second chance by having them be essentially maybe restored to before they went through the criminal legal system. So in Illinois, what cases are eligible for automatic sealing under Clean Slate? Well, non-convictions are the biggest one. So this would be if someone got arrested and they were never charged, or they were arrested, charged, and they were never convicted. The case was either dismissed or they were acquitted by a judge or jury. So all those cases are eligible for record sealing. Also, non-violent misdemeanors. So again, that's according to the statute. I'm not going to list every non-serious misdemeanor in this video, but you can go ahead and look at the bill for that. And it also includes non-violent felonies. There are a lot of Clean Slate or acts that I've seen that don't even include felonies as any of that type of relief. So I think it's really cool that Illinois just across the board went and said, any cases that were already eligible for expungement relief, we're just going to include that and we're going to automatically seal it instead of cherry pick and choose. However, this does exclude serious and violent offenses. These would be sex offenses, repeated DUI, DWI, Class X felonies. In Illinois, their felony system is based on a couple different felony classes. So Class X is the highest, and then it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. So there is a little bit of access restriction that I want to touch on with the Clean Slate Act of Illinois. While this does seal criminal records from the public, it does not seal the criminal record from government agencies. Some of these government agencies could include courts, law enforcement, prosecutors, DCFS, Department of Child and Family Services, for those that don't know the abbreviation, and other government agencies. Clean Slate Act also established a Clean Slate task force that's basically going to oversee this process and make sure that these agencies that are in charge of criminal records make sure that they're sealing all eligible records and that people don't have to file a formal petition and go to court for these processes. What's the timeline? That's the biggest question. So how soon is my record going to be sealed? Well, I feel like this was a little bit of the downfall when hearing about Clean Slate. Everyone is so excited about it. Oh my gosh, it passed. Well, they're giving Illinois State Police, which is going to do the first batch of records, until January 1st of 2030. So that's about, now we're ending 2025. I'll say about 4 years that they have to seal all those. That's a long time for someone's record to be sealed by. And then for the courts, they're giving a year longer. So courts and those eligible records need to be sealed by January 1st, 2031. So that's 5-6 years about. That's a long time to wait for your record to be automatically sealed. I am curious if in the meantime people are still going to go through the traditional route or if people are just going to wait to see relief. I don't know. But something that I want to mention and talk about, that I've been researching this, I've been looking on news channels, I still have questions. We don't know how this is going to work yet, right? Like this task force, that's one of my questions. This task force is implemented. Well, who's that made up of? How are they going to, oversee Illinois State Police and the courts on this stuff? That's TBD, yet to be determined. Another question that I had was, how will these people know that their cases are eligible, and how will they know when these records get sealed? Because a big problem that we saw and have been seeing in Minnesota is that these individuals can't be notified that the record was eligible and was sealed. So how are you supposed to know? And then once it's sealed from public view, how can you even request your record and get access to see if it was sealed? So I hope that Illinois learned from other states and has developed a system to notify people or come up with a way that people can check at least. And then another almost question and concern that I had about this was, because these criminal records are still going to be accessible by government agencies, does that mean that these government agencies can still use them, or they can't use them, they just were only sealed publicly? And what I mean by that is there's so many government agencies that still are used for employment, whether that's occupational licensing, whether that's, types of jobs that they go through. Maybe this includes where it's still on your driving record, but sealed publicly on your criminal record. I don't know. I have questions about how it's sealed from public view, but not from the government. And can the government then still use those criminal records? I don't know. Because at that point, I think the impact would be a bit more minimal than what people are letting on. If any of you guys have remaining questions, or if you have answers to my questions or anything, like what you've heard, I'm sure there will be more info to come in the future. Please drop a comment and let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you can join in the celebration on this, and we'll see you guys in the next one.